It was supposed to be an ordinary morning at the airport, passengers rushing to gates, flight announcements echoing across the terminal, the scent of coffee in the air. Everything changed near gate 12.14. Police dogs, German shepherds trained for every imaginable threat, suddenly broke formation. They encircled a tiny blonde girl standing alone, clutching a worn stuffed bear. Passengers froze, unsure whether to panic or film the scene on their phones. The dogs barked, low and sharp, eyes locked on the child. Officer Mark Jensen, leader of the K-9 unit, rushed forward. "Easy, Rex," he murmured, controlling his lead dog as the others mirrored his movements. The child's eyes were wide, pale, but strangely calm. "Please make them stop," she cried, trembling. Mark tried to get her attention gently. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" But she didn't answer. The dog's behavior wasn't aggression, they were shielding her, forming a protective ring. The crowd murmured in awe and fear, some backing away, others staring in disbelief. Rex, Mark's lead German shepherd, suddenly focused on the little girl's stuffed bear, growling deep and low. Mark's pulse quickened. The bear felt heavier than normal, almost cold. Something inside it was triggering the dog's instincts. "Get the scanner," Mark ordered. The officer ran it over the toy. The device beeped sharply. Metal. Wiring. Something had been hidden inside. Before anyone could react, the child whispered, "He's scared." Mark looked at Rex. The dog wasn't scared. He was warning. Danger was present, invisible to human eyes. The terminal erupted into controlled chaos. Security moved civilians back. Alarms rang. But inside the protective circle of dogs, the girl remained still, clutching her bear. Mark knelt beside her, calming her, while Rex sniffed the toy, low growls rumbling in his chest. The scanner confirmed it, a small, metallic device inside the bear. Not an explosive, but a tracker. Someone had been following the child, using her as an unwitting target. The mother arrived moments later, frantic. Emily Parker ran through the cordon, collapsing to her knees beside her daughter, tears streaming. "My baby," she cried. The little girl, Lily, buried herself in her mother's arms. Mark explained what the dogs had detected, the tracker, the danger, the instincts that had saved her life. Rex's body relaxed slightly, though his eyes never left the child. The officers stood watch, stunned at the precision and protection of the K-9 unit. Outside, the threat hadn't ended. A black van idled near the perimeter, its occupants connected to the bear and the family. But inside the terminal, the chaos paused for a moment as mother, child, and dog shared a silent understanding. The morning that had started ordinary had already become unforgettable. Mark Jensen's mind raced as he knelt near Lily, still clutching her bear. The K-9 unit remained alert, surrounding the girl like silent guardians. Rex's ears twitched, he was scanning, sensing a danger no human could see. Emily Parker's voice shook. "Officer Jensen, what's happening? Who would do this to my child?" Mark straightened, keeping his voice calm. "Someone is using this little girl to track or spy. That bear, it's not just a toy. It's a device transmitting information." Diaz, his partner, added, "The signals indicate military-grade tracking equipment. Whoever planted this knows exactly where she is. And judging by the sophistication, this isn't just random." Lily clung to her mother, trembling but quiet now. The dogs remained in perfect formation around them, a wall of instinct and training. Even the airport staff paused, watching in disbelief. Outside, the black van shifted, tires squealing as a tactical team tried to intercept it. Through the glass, Mark could see two men inside, faceless in the darkened windows. He knew instinctively that they were the ones behind the bear. Whoever they were, they had planned this carefully, using a child as the perfect cover. "Control, we've got an unmarked van at the perimeter," Mark radioed, keeping his voice low but urgent. "Requesting tactical units immediately." Rex barked sharply, alerting Mark to movement near the terminal's service entrance. The other dogs joined in, forming a synchronized wall of warning. The smell of danger was in the air, and the dogs had picked it up before any human could. Mark knelt beside Lily. "Sweetheart, can you tell me who gave you the bear?" "It was the man at the airport," Lily whispered. He said Daddy wanted it fixed. Emily's hand went cold as she realized what her daughter meant. Daniel Parker, her husband, had been working on a classified military project. Weeks ago, he had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. And now, someone was using their child to continue the hunt. Mark's jaw tightened. We need to secure this area. Evacuate everyone from Gate 12. The bomb squad was already on the move. A technician suited in protective gear approached the bear, carefully inspecting it. Rex pressed forward, his nose hovering over the toy, growls vibrating deep in his chest. The child, calm now, whispered again, "They didn't mean to hurt me. Daddy said it was safe." Mark shook his head softly. "It's not safe, Lily. We're going to make sure of that." The technician confirmed Mark's suspicion. Inside the bear's torso was a metallic core, small but active, transmitting coordinates. Not explosives, but still highly dangerous in the wrong hands. Emily's voice broke. "They've been following us, all this time. Since Daniel disappeared." Mark nodded grimly. "That's why the dogs reacted the way they did. They sensed danger even before it reached us." Through the terminal's glass walls, the black van began to move, tires skidding as tactical units closed in. Rex barked, alert and protective, as if warning that the threat wasn't just near, it was moving closer. Mark spoke softly to Lily. "You've been very brave. These dogs, they're your friends. They're here to protect you." The little girl reached out a trembling hand toward Rex. The shepherd lowered his head gently, letting her touch his fur. For a moment, amidst alarms and shouting, a quiet bond formed. Lily giggled softly, the first sound of relief that morning, but Mark's instincts told him the danger wasn't over. The van outside carried the culprits, and whatever their plan, it was still in motion. Tactical teams moved swiftly, blocking roads and preparing for a high-speed intercept. Diaz whispered to Mark, "They're not giving up easily. The device in the bear, whoever built it, they want that data at any cost." Mark glanced at the little girl, her blue eyes wide with fear but curious, still clutching her stuffed bear. "We're going to keep you safe, Lily. I promise. No one's getting near you while we're here." The K-9 unit shifted slightly, tightening their circle. 14 sets of eyes, trained to detect threats, scanned every movement in the terminal. Every sniff of air, every bark, every stance was calculated to protect the child. As alarms blared outside and the van sped down the runway perimeter, Mark knew that this morning, the airport had transformed from a place of routine into a battleground of instinct, courage, and careful calculation, and at the center of it all, protected by dogs, guided by officers, and held tightly by her mother, was Lily. The child who had unknowingly become the key to stopping a threat no one could see. For a brief moment, she smiled, unaware of the global danger she had narrowly avoided. And in that smile, Mark saw everything he fought to protect: innocence, hope, and the quiet courage of a little girl who had changed everything. The black van tore down the runway perimeter, tires skidding across wet asphalt as tactical units pursued from all directions. Helicopters hummed overhead, searchlights cutting swaths through the early morning haze. Mark Jensen, still inside the terminal, pressed his forehead to the glass, watching every movement. Rex stood beside him, tense, muscles coiled, ears pricked. Unit 7, maintain pursuit. Spike strips ready at mile marker 3, Diaz radioed, voice tight with urgency. They're heading east at high speed. Mark's eyes never left the van. Inside, two men, silent and deliberate, glanced at their monitors. Whoever they were, they had been following Lily's family for months, using the stuffed bear as a covert tracking device. The thought made Mark's stomach churn. The stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. Back in the terminal, the K-9 unit remained on high alert. 14 German shepherds, trained for explosives, tracking, and protection, mirrored Rex's focus. Every bark, every growl, every twitch of a tail was part of a silent communication. They knew the danger was moving but trusted their handlers implicitly to act. Emily held Lily tightly, whispering reassurances. The little girl's small fingers brushed Rex's fur. "Good boy," she murmured, finding comfort in his presence. Mark watched, heart heavy but resolute. He couldn't let anyone touch that child. Not now, not ever. Outside, the van swerved violently, narrowly avoiding a tactical blockade. Officers shouted over their radios, coordinating road closures and intercept strategies. A spike strip deployed just in time, puncturing 2 tires. The van fishtailed but continued its desperate escape. "Prepare K9 deployment if it exits the tarmac," Mark muttered, eyes flicking back to his team. The dogs were already reacting instinctively, ready for any orders. Moments later, the van skidded to a halt near a service road, gravel spraying in every direction. One of the suspects attempted to flee on foot. Without hesitation, Thor, one of Mark's dogs, lunged, tackling the man with precision. He went down in a controlled bite, restrained but unharmed, just as Mark had trained his team to do. The second man raised his hands, realizing resistance was futile as tactical officers moved in. Inside the terminal, Emily exhaled shakily. "It's over, isn't it?" she asked, still holding Lily. Mark glanced outside, watching as the suspects were cuffed. "It's not just over," he said quietly. "It's controlled now. But this morning was a warning." Diaz approached, shaking his head. "I've never seen K9s react like that. They knew exactly where the danger was, even before the devices triggered. Incredible instincts." Mark crouched beside Lily. "You were very brave today. And so were the dogs. They saved you, and everyone else in this terminal." Lily's blue eyes sparkled with curiosity, her small voice breaking the tension. "Will they always protect me?" Rex nudged her gently with his nose. The little girl giggled softly, her hand stroking the shepherd's fur. It was a moment of pure innocence amidst the chaos. Mark turned his attention back to the bear, now safely in the hands of the bomb squad. The device had been deactivated, its data fully analyzed. Whoever had planned to use it had underestimated both the K9 unit and the intuition of a tiny girl clutching her toy. Emily's voice trembled as she spoke to Mark. "Thank you. You didn't just save Lily, you saved us all." Mark shook his head. "No, ma'am. The credit goes to them." He gestured toward the K9 unit. 14 dogs sat obediently, tails low but alert, eyes still scanning for danger. They acted out of instinct, loyalty, courage. That's what saved everyone today. A hush fell over the terminal. Passengers slowly returned from evacuation zones, watching the reunion between mother and daughter. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment that would soon go viral. A little girl, safe in her mother's arms, surrounded by 14 disciplined German shepherds, silent protectors who had faced unseen danger with unflinching precision. Outside, the black van was towed away, suspects in custody, and evidence collected. But Mark knew the story didn't end there. Whoever had tried to use Lily as bait would not stop. The investigation had only begun. As the terminal began to return to normal, Mark knelt beside Lily one last time before leaving. "Remember this, sweetheart. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about doing the right thing, even when you're scared." The little girl nodded solemnly, hugging Rex's head. "I won't forget," she whispered, and in that quiet, sunlit terminal, a bond was cemented, between a child, her mother, and the dogs who had risked everything to protect them. The airport had witnessed a miracle that morning, a story of bravery, instinct, and unwavering loyalty that no one would ever forget. With the suspects in custody and the van secured, the airport slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, the tension lingered like a shadow. Mark Jensen remained vigilant, Rex at his side, ears twitching at the faintest sound. The K9 unit had done its job perfectly, but something told Mark this was only the beginning. Inside the temporary command center, bomb technicians and intelligence officers pored over the devices retrieved from the black van. Laptops, false passports, and encrypted drives filled the table. Diaz, frowning, tapped on a keyboard, bringing up surveillance images of Emily, Lily, and Daniel Parker. Each photo was tagged with coordinates and timestamps spanning months, airports, and cities. They've been tracking this family for months, Diaz muttered. This wasn't random. It's organized, precise, and dangerous. Emily, clutching Lily's hand tightly, overheard the discussion. So, they've been watching us? Her voice trembled. All this time? Mark nodded gravely. Yes, ma'am. They used the bear as a tracking device, a lure. But the K9 unit sensed it before it could do real harm. You and Lily are lucky. Lily, still hugging Rex's neck, looked up with wide blue eyes. Will they come back? She whispered. Mark crouched beside her. They might try. But we'll be ready. And these dogs, they'll protect you. Rex nudged her gently, tail wagging softly. The little girl giggled, the first real sound of laughter since the morning chaos. Outside, authorities scoured the area around the airport, tracing the digital signals from the van. It didn't take long to find a temporary command post in a nearby warehouse. Inside, monitors flickered with live feeds, encrypted communications, and schematics of military projects. Whoever had orchestrated this attack wasn't merely after a child, they were after sensitive data from Daniel Parker's work. Mark studied the screens, jaw tight. They planned to exploit Lily's proximity to her father's research. Whoever did this is highly trained and well-funded. Diaz shook his head. It's a network. If we only catch the people in this van, the bigger plan continues elsewhere. Mark turned to Emily. We need you to stay somewhere safe while we figure this out. Your daughter, she's our priority. Emily's voice cracked. I won't leave her side. I understand, Mark said softly. But this is bigger than just one airport. You and Lily need protection. Meanwhile, Rex and the rest of the K9 unit remained stationed near the terminal, scanning every movement, ears alert, muscles coiled. Their instincts had saved countless lives today, and Mark knew better than to underestimate them. Hours passed as authorities pieced together the puzzle. Surveillance footage from around the city revealed shadowy figures, cars following the Parkers, and suspicious activity near Lily's school and home. It became clear that this operation wasn't isolated, it was part of a global surveillance network, using children as unknowing bait. Mark felt a chill as he connected the dots. The stuffed bear wasn't just a tracking device, it was a key component in an intelligence-gathering scheme. If it hadn't been for Rex's instincts, and the unflinching loyalty of the other 13 German shepherds, Lily, and potentially many others, would have been in grave danger. Later that evening, after the immediate threat had been contained, Mark returned to the K9 facility with Emily and Lily. The little girl ran straight to Rex, arms open wide. You saved me, didn't you? She asked, hugging him tightly. Rex licked her face gently, as if acknowledging the gratitude, his brown eyes soft but vigilant. Emily smiled through tears. You and your team, you saved our lives. I don't know how we'll ever repay you. Mark shook his head. No repayment needed. The dogs did what they were trained to do, and then some. They acted on instinct, loyalty, courage. That's worth more than any words. As night fell, Mark and Diaz reviewed intelligence reports, tracing the network further, plotting the next moves. The world would never know how close Lily had come to danger, or how the coordinated actions of 14 German shepherds had turned a near disaster into a miracle. Back at the hospital, Lily rested in her mother's arms, clutching a new stuffed bear, free of hidden devices. Rex lay at the foot of the bed, eyes half closed but still alert. The bond between child and dog had grown unbreakable, forged in a crucible of instinct, bravery, and unspoken understanding. Emily whispered softly to Lily, you have your own guardian now. Lily smiled, hugging Rex's neck. My angel, she whispered, and for Mark, watching the scene unfold, one thought lingered. Heroes don't always wear badges, and sometimes the greatest acts of courage walk on four legs. The investigation was far from over, but for tonight, the Parkers were safe. The airport had survived, and the K9 unit had once again proven the unshakable power of loyalty and instinct. The following morning, the airport buzzed with activity again, but this time it was different. Reporters, travelers, and staff alike whispered about the events of the previous day. A viral video circulating online showed 14 German shepherds forming a protective circle around a tiny girl, shielding her from unseen danger. Millions had watched, awed by the courage of the K9 unit. Mark Jensen arrived early at the terminal with Rex by his side. The memories of the chaos still lingered, the adrenaline replaced now by quiet reflection. He watched as passengers passed by, some stopping to point at Rex and the other dogs. "They did it again, huh, boy?" Mark murmured, scratching behind Rex's ears. The shepherd responded with a low, contented whine, tail thumping against the floor. Emily and Lily were escorted in for a brief visit. Lily ran straight to Rex, arms wide. "My angel," she exclaimed, wrapping herself around him. Rex gently nuzzled her, as if saying, "I'm always here." Emily smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Mark. I don't know how to thank you properly. You and your dogs, you saved our lives." Mark shook his head. "It's not just me. It's them. The dogs, they act on instinct, courage, and loyalty. That's what makes heroes." As the family reunited with Rex, Mark noticed other officers quietly watching, a mix of pride and relief in their expressions. The K9 unit had not only prevented a disaster, they had restored faith in something that often seemed lost: protection, trust, and hope. Later that day, the airport held a small ceremony. Officers, staff, and even a few passengers who had witnessed the event gathered in the terminal. Mark stepped forward, alongside Diaz and the K9 handlers. One by one, the dogs received treats and pats, their disciplined eyes softening as the crowd applauded. Rex sat proudly beside Mark, ears twitching, eyes alert. The lead German shepherd had become more than a police dog. He was a symbol of courage, intuition, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. Emily approached Mark once more, Lily clinging to her hand. "We'll never forget what you did," she said softly. "And neither will she." Lily looked up at Rex, her small hands patting his head. "I'm never scared again," she whispered. The shepherd's gentle gaze seemed to promise her exactly that. News outlets had already dubbed the event the airport miracle. Social media posts called the K9 unit guardian angels on 4 legs, praising their bravery and instinct. But for Mark, it wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about lives saved and a little girl who had inspired a miracle through courage and innocence. That evening, back at the K9 facility, Mark watched Rex rest, the first signs of fatigue showing in his posture. The shepherd's eyes flicked toward him briefly, a silent acknowledgement of the trust and bond they shared. Mark reflected on the past 24 hours, the fear, the chaos, the tension, but also the bravery, loyalty, and unspoken understanding between a man and his dog. Rex had saved a child, prevented a potential attack, and proven that sometimes instinct surpasses training. For Lily and Emily, life would return to a fragile normal. The threat had been neutralized, the perpetrators captured, and the Parkers were safe. But for everyone who witnessed it, the story would remain unforgettable, a testament to courage in its purest, most instinctive form. As Mark closed the facility doors, he glanced once more at Rex. "We did it, buddy. Another day, another miracle." The German shepherd responded with a soft whine and a gentle nudge, as if saying, "We did it together." Outside, the sun dipped low over the horizon, painting the airport in hues of gold and orange. Travelers carried on, unaware of the full scope of the morning's events, yet somehow, the world felt a little safer knowing heroes walked among them, sometimes on 4 legs, always ready to protect. And for one small girl in a pink jacket, her heart would forever remember the courage of 14 brave dogs who had defied danger to keep her safe. Lily's angel wasn't just a story, it was real, tangible, and waiting for her whenever she needed him. Mark smiled faintly, watching the child skip ahead with her mother, Rex by her side. "Heroes don't always wear badges," he whispered. "Sometimes they have fur and 4 legs." As night fell, the airport returned to its usual rhythm, but the memory of the day lingered, a quiet, enduring reminder that bravery comes in many forms, and that even in a world full of uncertainty, courage, loyalty, and love can prevail against the odds.